OK
你睇住我個 chat 啊吓
OK，
，OK go。
好緊張，撳咗啦。Oh, oh, okay. I can see myself here. Well, so hi everybody. I'm waiting for everyone to get on. Um, so will I be able? Because this is the first time I do this Facebook Live all by myself. Usually I have Gretchen there to do all the technical stuff. She's actually behind the scene right now, helping me set it all up. And I'm going to be waiting for people to get on. Oh, I can actually see how many people are getting on. All right. I'm gonna start my diffuser. This is the one that I use. I love it. Do you guys have it? It's I think it's called small macaron or something. All right, I always have to diffuse oils when I'm doing a live or teaching a class because it really helps. I am going to put on some clarity because I actually just came out of quarantine last night. I was in a hotel for 14 days inside a hotel room because I just came back from Hawaii, right? And in Hong Kong, if you're not vaccinated, you have to be quarantined for 14 days before you can go home. And if you're vaccinated, you quarantine for 7 days. So I actually just came out of quarantine last night past midnight and I slept at 3 a.m. It's now 10:30, so I'm a little bit drowsy. I really definitely need my oils. And I want all of you to put your oils on too. Oh my gosh, I can actually see my comments. So hi, everybody. Oh my God, I love this. Thank you, Gretchen, for helping me set it up. I can read the comments. I can see how many people are getting on. I'm actually very nervous because I haven't done this all by myself and not in English, at least. I don't know. Usually it's just with my team and everybody knows me well. Not everyone here knows me. I'm trying to, all right, okay, let's see. Okay. All right. Okay, so please let me know in the comments where you're connecting from. I would love to know where all of you came from, because this is open to everybody in the world, whoever understands English. And oh, I also need to thank Vivian. My goodness, I have to thank Vivian Wen. She's in our team in Hong Kong. She's amazing. She is an RCD. She's a Royal Crown Diamond. And she invited me last year to do this class for our team in Hong Kong. And I did it in Chinese. And if it weren't for her, this would never have been born, because she said, oh, Joanne, let's do something, you know, Gary Young so well, there's so much experience. Why don't you teach a class on where the company came from, right? How Gary started. And so I was like, wow, that's a great idea. And supposedly, I think it was only for like 1 or 2 lessons. Eventually, we did this 14 course thing, and we designed a curriculum, and that's how it all started. I think I did it last year, exactly in May, around the same time as today. Hello, everybody. Wow, they're all over the world. This is so exciting. And then I'm from Hong Kong. I live in Hong Kong, born and raised, and most of my team are here. I also have team members in Canada, Australia, UK, Europe, Canada. Did I say Canada already? Canada, US, UK, Australia, and Europe, and Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China. I am sure I've members. Oh, I have Malaysia, Singapore. So you know how it is, it's a worldwide Young Living community. And so actually Gretchen is behind the scene reminding me what I have to say. This is so cool. Okay, so what else am I supposed to do? Okay, I need to turn on my diffuser and I need to choose an oil for today. This is what I always do. So here is my gigantic oil pouch. Most of them are emotional oils. I don't know if you guys are familiar with emotional oils and Young Living. I love them. And I always have this big pouch. And then I always just stick my hand in and choose one that is the most appropriate for today. Okay, let's see what it is today. I think something bergamot. Must be. We need to open our hearts and be happy. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the diffuser, and then I'm gonna put it on. Well, I'm not going under the sun today. It's really cloudy and raining today in Hong Kong. I won't be going out. I'll be staying at home all day today. And then bergamot is really good for opening the heart and putting happy feelings in your heart. I always put it in the perfume that I use, I make for myself. And then I'll choose one more. Let me see. Three Wise Men. It's a little bottle of Three Wise Men. This bottle came from 2012. Haha, old label. All right, I'm gonna put on some Three Wise Men. And Three Wise Men is amazing. I love it. I feel like it can remove emotional trauma, like resets. If you put it on your brainstem every day, like reset you. And I read somewhere that it can remove ancestral and, those conditioning, traumatic conditioning. So do that on your brainstem for at least 3 months. Do it at least morning and night. I like to tell people to put 4 times a day. Okay, I love Three Wise Men. All right, let me put that in the diffuser. And then let's see what else. 3 oils. I always put 3 oils. This thing that is in the middle. Oh my goodness. I pulled out a all right. Dragon Time. That is interesting. Isn't that so interesting? Because for those of you who are in my class in Hong Kong all the time, I always pull out like fulfill your destiny, highest potential, and oils like that. Today is Dragon Time. Maybe because we have a lot of different people from all over the world. We all need different things. Maybe we need to like balance a bit of our hormones, stay calm, because I'm feeling like a dragon right now because I'm ready to go, wah, right? So I love this oil. It's funny. My boyfriend, once in a while, he'd go, is it dragon time? That's probably mean that I'm having like a bad mood or being very moody. And he goes, Joanne, I think it's dragon time. And so I'll grab the bottle and put it on. I like to put Dragon Time on the ankle, in the inside of the ankle, because that's where the reflex points for the reproductive system is. And it works really well if I apply it on the inside ankle. I like to do it morning and night. I like to do it every day, and not only when you want the support, right? If you want the oil, it's already a little bit too late. So I like to preempt. Okay, so those are the oils that I'm diffusing today. And if you have it at home, also put it on. I love this diffuser. It's so pretty. And I guess we're ready to go. So I already introduced me a little bit in the Facebook Live that I did last week. And then, so I'm just going to go and start with this class. And what happens is this is about, the first class is a little bit shorter. It's about an hour and a half. I have the repetition of like speaking too long. My Facebook Live usually goes for like an hour and a half and 2 because I just love talking about Young Living. So if you guys need to leave, it's totally fine. You can always come back and rewatch. Everything is going to be kept inside the script. So if it's too long for you, you can watch it. Like I like to tell people to break it up into 20-minute section. So over a week, over 6 days, you'll be able to finish all of it. So you don't feel overwhelmed, right? So if you see like a video is like 2 hours, I go, oh my God, where am I going to get 2 hours to listen to this? So what you can do is break it into 20-minute section and just watch it for 20 minutes every day. And after 6 days, you're done. And then you're ready for next week. What about that? Or you can just keep playing it and do your housework, do your laundry, cook, or something like that. It's very casual. Okay. So anybody who is on and you need to leave, you can leave anytime. I won't take offense. It's fine. All right. Okay. Let's see. I am still looking at the chats. Oh my God. You guys are all over the place, from the Philippines, from New York, Malaysia, Hong Kong. And oh yes, thank you for having my book, Following the Leader. Thank you, Sally. You came and maybe we took photos together. And so everything that is in this course is taken from this book. I don't know if you guys have this book. This is the second edition of, hi, Kevin. This is the second edition of the D. Gary Young book that Mary wrote about Gary. Most of the things are information are basically based from this book. But of course, I added a lot of the details. I love to do research. I am an investigator. My upline, Frances Fuller, she's actually the person who enrolled my enroller. So Frances Fuller always used to say that I am her little detective because I love to find the truth, right? And Mary always says that the person who aligns with the truth, the person who is looking for the truth will know when they find it. And that's me. When I found Young Living, it feels right? And so I was so attracted to it. I had to learn everything about it. I have to learn everything about Gary. So that's how I started. So I encourage all of you to get this book if you have not yet. You can get it from your VO. It's under resources books or something like that, building resources. So you can get this book from your VO. So I encourage all of you to do that because just listening to me, I can't really go into all that detail. This is a really gigantically thick book. It has got tons of photos. So, well, I've got this thing that you can probably, doesn't matter. Okay, anyway, so this is the book that you definitely want to have at home. If you have one Young Living product at home, you need to know where it came from. And this is the book that will tell you, okay? And so I highly recommend this one. Everybody needs to get it. And then some of the information that I talk about in the 14 classes that's going to come up is also in my book. This is my book that Sally is very kindly talked about in the comments. I wrote this book when Gary was sick, when Gary was very sick. And I actually finished writing it 4 years ago today. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps. In fact, well, it's the May the 12th in Hong Kong. And 4 years ago, May the 12th at 4 p.m., that's when Gary passed away. And that's also May 12th, Hong Kong time, 4 p.m. was when I finished writing this book. It's weird. I know. I wrote it I think I started writing it in February, and then I finished in May. And then I remember I sent it to Mary. I sent a copy to Mary, and then I go, oh, I finally finished the book. Can you help me read through this? And the next morning was Mother's Day. I remember Sunday was Mother's Day. And in the morning, I received a call and they told me that Gary passed away. So I finished writing this book exactly the time when he passed away in the US, which was about 10 hours later than us. Anyway, so I felt like, yeah, well, yes, Regine. Hi, Regine. Yes, tomorrow, your time, May 12th at 4 p.m. Now in Hong Kong is May 12th. So that's why I wanted to start the course today. And luckily the universe aligned and allowed me to be home today. So I haven't been home in a month. So anyway, I should start. Otherwise I can go on forever, talk about different things. Okay, I have to prepare you because this is really the first time, and I know I'm expecting maybe some funny things that will go on, but I'll share screen. Oh, where's my presentation? Because I had to reboot my computer just now because I bought this new mic. I got this new mic. I'm so happy. Okay. It's burgundy. It's my favorite color. I saw it at Best Buy in Honolulu, and I said, I have to get it. Anyway, I'm totally getting off topic here. Why am I not seeing my presentation in the share screen? What is going on? All right, let me try again. All right, there we go. Sorry about this, guys. As I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to do what I can. I guess that's what we're all doing in Young Living when we are just learning. All right, let's see. I don't know what's gonna happen. Oh, shoot. Ooh. Wow. This doesn't seem to be working. Oh. How do people do this? How do they like click and then it goes like boom and everything is on, right? How do people actually do this? I don't know. Anyway, all right. So okay. Okay. Anyway, so I think it's working now. I think you're all seeing what I'm seeing. I'm trying to manage so many things at the same time. And then, oh, shoot. All right. Okay. I'm also trying to read the chat at the same time. I'm not trying to do too many things at the same time. All right. Well, I promise you it's going to get better. The first time is always like a bit messy, right? Okay. Hi, everybody. So hi, Daniel. Hi, Brittany from Texas. Hello, Marianne from Philippines. And I'm just going to start right now, right? Okay. Okay, I'm good. All right. Okay. So this course is called 101 Reasons to Fall in Love with Young Living. And it's actually all about Gary Young, right? Actually, it's all about Gary. And yeah, give me some hearts and some likes if you actually know what is going on. I'm trying to learn. All right. Okay. So I love this photo. This photo was taken from Fort Nelson in our farm when he was building it. It's pretty amazing. There will be one class, we'll talk about Fort Nelson. In fact, the photo, the background that I have, it's taken from the house in Fort Nelson. So behind there, you see, and behind the kitchen door, this is actually a photo taken from the kitchen in a house in Fort Nelson, where when you all go to Winter Harvest or Winter Festival probably not, Winter Harvest, you're gonna stay in the house and it's really cool. There are different rooms to stay in. This is something that Gary wanted to do. He really wanted everybody to go visit the farm. So this is actually the photo taken from the kitchen table when I was there and when I was working. So that's my computer, that's my book. So a lot of times when I do a Zoom, people ask me, so where are you, Joanne? I said, I'm at home, I'm in Hong Kong. And where is that in the background? I said, that's Fort Nelson. It's my favorite place on the earth. All right. Okay. So I'm going to take you back in time, 1973. Okay. And it all started with a logger dream. So Gary was born in 1949 on a farm with a family of logger. His father was a logger and a farmer, and they would grow wheat. I remember Gary said they'd grow wheat, they'd play in the wheat field. Gary and his sister would play in the wheat field, and the wheat were very tall. They're taller than him. The modern wheat now, it's shorter. Well, I may have to talk about einkorn in another class, but let's go back to Gary first. And it was a 16 by 20 feet sod roof cabin with no water piping and no electricity. So in the winter, they would have to burn wood fire. And this actually is the house. Can you see my cursor? You can, right? So this is actually the house that is now currently outside our headquarters in Lehi. If you've been to Lehi, our headquarters, please give me some likes and tell me in the comments that you've been there. If not, you have to go to convention next month. You have to go to convention so that you can visit our amazing new headquarters. Gary designed it all by himself, and he had this vision that he wanted a building that was like this. I actually posted a video of Mary talking about it, his designs, and Ben Riley also talking about it when he designed everything without corners to have that feeling of harmony and comfort, and a lot of natural light, a lot of glass, and a waterfall in the middle of the building. You know, he started drawing that in 1993, I think Mary said, and he already had a vision that 30 years later he can have a building like that. Can you imagine the guy? And so they actually replicated a house that looks exactly like the house that Gary grew up in. It actually also has a wheelchair outside. It's very similar to the wheelchair that Gary was using. And it's all Gary approved. He approved all the design of this house, and he said it looks exactly like the one that he grew up in. So that's really cool. When you go to convention, you can go to headquarters and go take photos and look at the inside of the house. Okay, so I use this photo so everybody knows how big the house was. And this actually was the later on, his father built a bigger house when he was a bit older. I can't exactly remember. I think when he was 16, his father installed the first electricity line, and then they had a telephone for the first time. And I remember that Gary used to say that his mother, after cooking, preparing the food, she would cover it with a cloth because the dirt and the minerals from this rooftop would fall onto the food. And then he would joke that there would be, well, it would give us more minerals and more protein. So that doesn't matter. Yes, and please feel free to screen cap whatever you're looking at so that it's easier for you to share if you want to share it with your team. Everything is compliant. I would love for everybody to do a Facebook post after you've taken each class so that you can share what you have learned. And because it's all about Gary, I want to take Gary Young by the storm and Young Living by the Storm on Facebook, right? On social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever social media platform that you're using. I want you, all of you, to share what you've learned and to hashtag, and I'll give you the hashtag later, 101 reasons for YL. So feel free to screen cap. All right. And so it all started with a logging dream. So he grew up in this really humbling house, and the thing would fall from the rooftop. And he said he could only go to school in the summer because the snow was too thick in the winter and he couldn't walk to school. And obviously he didn't have a lot of formal education because of how he grew up. But later on, he was so well educated. I believe, and I think he is the person who knows the most about essential oils, definitely in the entire world. And I don't think anybody is going to come close to the second. And you'll find out why after 14 weeks. Yes, you can. You don't need to screen record because this recording is going to be kept inside the group. And then you can, I also encourage you to do a watch party after you've watched the class. And if you like it, you can do a watch party where you're in the group and you have a Zoom and then you share screen with your friends. Or if you just want to, like, for your own record, yeah, you can, of course you can, but it's just going to be pretty long if you share screen, like if you screen record, okay? So anyway, let me go back to this. And then, and also I remember he said that his father was very strict, very old school. And whenever he's not doing anything that his father liked, he would pull out his belt and give them a beating, a spanking. And then in 1967, when he was age 22, he packed up his bags and he went to Northern Canada. Oops, there's a typo here. He went up to Northern Canada to fulfill his dreams to become a logger and to own, there's a ton of typo because I just made this yesterday. It's translated from the Chinese version because I've been traveling so much. So there's tons of typo. I'm going to correct it afterwards. I'm so sorry. And by the way, actually English is my second language. I actually speak Cantonese. And so by the age 22, he moved his things and to Canada and he opened a logging company. And his dream was becoming the best logger in North America. And he did, because by the age that he was 22, he became the company that have the logging contracts for the biggest two largest logging companies in Canada, in the province of British Columbia. So, and interestingly, 20 some years later, he went back to British Columbia and bought the piece of land in Fort Nelson, right next to the Alaskan Highway, where he used to drive his truck logging, bringing logs from Canada down to the US. And that's Alaskan Highway is the highway that goes through from US up all the way up to northern part of Canada and go to Alaska. When you want to go from the US to Alaska, you have to drive through Alaskan Highway, and you will drive through our Fort Nelson farm because our Fort Nelson farm is right on there on the Alaskan Highway. And Gary used to say, oh, it's very easy. If you drive along the Alaskan Highway, you'll find it. That's exactly what Gary would say. Oh, it's so funny. But the Alaskan Highway is like from the US to Alaska. That's how long it is. But he said you'll find it. Anyway, so that's how Gary was. That's how he sees things, you know? He saw things. I always use the present tense to describe him because I feel like he's still with us. Oh, wow, really? Eddie, that's really cool. Your stepdad helped build that road. Oh yeah, a lot of people built that road. And I had the opportunity to go to Alaska with Young Living on the cruise, and I did a bit of that tour thing and learned about it. It's really some history there. Okay, so in 1973, the reason why I talked about it all the time is all started in 1973, is because that was the year that he had the accident that paralyzed him, right? So when he was logging, a big tree fell on him because he had, you know how when you're logging, when you're using heavy machinery, you have to be wearing one of those headphone thing. I don't know what they are, like sound protection, right? You have to be wearing those sound protection thing. Maybe I should turn on like sound protection thing for your ear. So when the tree was falling on him, people were telling him to run, but because he was wearing that, he couldn't hear it. So the tree fell on him and literally fell on him. And he had 3 open skull fractures, a spinal cord rupture in 3 locations, 11 intervertebral disc rupture, rupture or crushed 16 vertebrae, a pelvic rupture, and 19 broken bones, all on his right rib and some on his left. So this is actually a photo that I took out of the book, Seed to Seal. It's all written there. Mary has written all details. This is actually an X-ray of his spine. And normally the spine should not be like this. So if any doctor would look at the spine, they will know that this person is paralyzed and cannot move. So Gary was a medical miracle. With a spine like that, it was impossible for anybody who had a spine like this to be doing the things that he did. Anyway, so that's how his accident happened. And then his doctor diagnosed him that he would be paralyzed for life. Other than his left hand, his whole body was paralyzed and he couldn't move. And he could only be set in a wheelchair. And he was taking 13 different kinds of medication, including morphine, because he was in so much pain, and antidepressant. And he attempted suicide twice, but failed. And somebody saved him. And then he spiraled into a deep depression and constant emotional outbursts, and he was being very unreasonable. This was very difficult to deal with him. And because he didn't have insurance back then, he had to sell everything to pay for his medical bills. He had to sell all the logging equipment, everything, the company, and everything at home. So because he was so difficult, his wife eventually left with the children. And then, so he failed to kill himself. So what did he do next? He tried to go on a hunger strike because he said, nobody can save me if I want to starve myself to death. And so instead of eating, he was just drinking lemon water. Interestingly, after 253 days, he suddenly felt his big toe. He was like, this is weird. I can feel my big toe. And the doctors called it an unexplained medical miracle. So what actually happened was he went on a master cleanse. If you look at master cleanse, it's actually lemon juice, water, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup. So what he did was he was just drinking lemon water. And what happened was that the body was trying to, because it was starving, the body was trying to find its way and building new neural pathways. So by growing those new neurons, he suddenly could feel his toe. So he was like, oh, okay, maybe there's a way for me to feel more, right? And also around the same time, his father went to visit him. Nobody else would visit him. His father was the only person who was visiting him. And he was scolding him. He was saying that you're throwing your life away. God gave you your life even after such a horrible accident. He didn't take your life. So there must be a purpose for you to be alive, right? So he started thinking about it because he was trapped in the bed. So he started thinking about it, and maybe he can look into another way to get better, because since the doctor said he cannot be healed, maybe he can heal himself. So he started asking the nurse for some natural healing books on natural medicine and natural herbs. And the nurse would go to the library and pitch to him and go to the library and borrow books for him. And he would ask the nurse to read for him. And in the beginning, the nurse thought that he just wanted company. And later on, the nurse noticed that maybe he could not read. So the nurse asked, "You can't read, can you?" And so he had to tell the nurse the secret that he couldn't, and he was feeling so ashamed, but the kind nurse was willing to teach him how to read. And I mean, he went to he had a little bit of schooling. Of course, he knows ABC, and you can just learn, right? So he slowly learned how to read, and then also started to read different naturopathic medicine books. And then he also decided to stop taking all the Western medication to clear his mind, because when he was on 13 medication and antidepressant, he felt that it was blurring his judgment and it was blurring his thinking. So, and then he decided that he has to do something with his life, but he had to earn a living, and he used to paint. And so he would start painting, and he would sell his painting on the streets. And afterwards, some people really liked his painting, and some lawyers and doctors hired him to paint murals on the wall. And that's why he has a special connection to having murals on the wall. And the house that he bought in Tabiona had murals on the wall. In one of the rooms, there's a mural with a man with a logger and horses pulling logs, and the logger was standing on the logs. And that mural was painted on the wall before Gary bought the house. So I'm getting goosebumps again. So that actually Tabiona was meant to be for him. Well, Tabiona is another story for another time. Let's go back to this. So he started painting, and that's how he started earning money. But it was a really small town. And so, there can only be that many people who bought paintings from the same guy, right? And then he read in the newspaper that a truck company was hiring somebody to transport logs. And he knew that way really well. And he loved logging so he knew trucks really well. So he went and tried to find the job there. And the owner pitied him and looked at him and sort of half laugh, half joke, saying that, well, if you can go out there and park the semi, then I'll hire you. Seeing that he's in a wheelchair, there's no way he could do it. So he wheeled himself out to the truck. He got himself up on the semi, using his upper body strength. And then I remember he said he used something to press onto the clutch. And then he parked the car. He parked the semi, but he used an hour instead of 5 minutes. So he took an hour. It took him an hour to park the semi, but he went back to the office, and the guy in the office, his jaw was dropped, and he goes, "Oh, wow, this guy's determined. Okay, I'll hire you." And he also actually made a car that was he amended, changed the truck in a way so that you don't need to drive the truck with feet. So he did that for him. So that was his truck that he could drive. So he started earning money again, and he started growing back his confidence because he could work. And then he later enrolled in community college, which do not need any entry requirement. And he studied massage therapy. And then he opened a little shop selling natural health products. And he started using herbs and tried different natural remedies to heal himself. So, and after 13 years, in 1986, he could finally walk without assistance. So in 1975, he was bound to a wheelchair for 27 months, but he wasn't going to give up. So he slowly started walking with a walker and then switched to a cane. And in this photo, this is a very rare photo with him with crutches, because Mary said that he refused to have anybody take photos of him with a walker or with a cane. So there's actually no photos of him showing that he couldn't really walk. This was the only one. And it's also in the book, Seek to Seal book. And in 1986, he could finally walk without constant pain, without assistance, despite the constant pain. So even before he passed away, he was always in constant pain. And Mary would have to massage his legs with like, did you know that all of our the Panaway Deep Relief Cool Azul essential oil, the Cool Azul gel, and then the Cool Azul pain relief cream are all products he made for himself because he was constantly in pain. And Mary would have to massage his feet and put oils on his feet before he went to bed because he would be woken up by the pain. And and that was how he started recovering. And then I know that there's a lot of myth around how, I'm going to be talking a lot about the myths. I'm going to be busting the myths that is around Gary and his history. And I know what the myths are, and I'm here. I want to bust them with facts. And because it's enough. I mean, the guy is dead for 4 years and people are still talking about the things that he did not do. You know, you can't really prove things that you did not do. You can't prove something that is not there. You know what I mean? So anyway, what is there is this. This is an affidavit that his ex-wife signed, because there were so many people who was saying that he drowned his own child. Actually, no, she had a water birth and the baby was stillborn. Okay. Actually, that was the year in 1982. The baby was born and he was born still, is that called stillbirth in English? So the baby was actually born dead. And so he had nothing to do with the baby being dead and being born in water. I mean, in Hong Kong, their birth rooms with birth pools. It's so common to give birth in water. I'm sure a lot of you have tried it. So no, he did not drown his baby. She was born dead. And how horrible for people to be using this and keep talking about it for 30 years. It's insane, right? Come on, people, let it go. Anyway, I'm going to let that go. And he started learning from different teachers during 1982 to 1988. He studied with different teachers. I'm going to be showing you the different teachers in the next few pages. This photo, you might have seen it. This is a girl that she hired to help her manage her apothecary. He used to go into the mountains and find his own herbs, and then he would make his own apothecary. Okay. And he was just using herbs back then. And where did he learn the herbs from? And I will tell you in a moment. So he learned biochemistry, anatomy, hematology, which is the study of blood. And then he also learned chemistry from a Mexican doctor. He learned nutrition and natural therapy, life and dry blood analysis, herbology, and iridology. I don't know if I'm pronouncing these words right. If I'm not, you can correct me. Okay, so he learned herbology from Dr. Joseph Cadence. You can look him up, but this is what I found. Dr. Joseph Cadence, he was a naturopath. He was a PhD. He passed away in 1993. He published these books in 1970, 1972, 1975, and 1982. Know that this was 50 years ago. And back then, a lot of us use herbs. I mean, in Hong Kong, in China, well, I'm Chinese. So in this part of the world, Chinese medicine is very common. Herbalist is very, very common. And I'm sure in like Malaysia, Singapore, we all have those Chinese doctors. Usually they're old. Usually they are family past. How do you say it? Like you go and you have a master and they teach you everything. And then you learn from watching, you learn from him teaching people, treating people, and then you learn on the side, and then they would teach you things, and then you start treating your patients. That's how Chinese medication comes about, right? I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm sure in Asia, this part of the world, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, that's how we grew up with Chinese doctors. And we actually did not ask if the doctor has a license or if he is licensed back then, because that's what we all did. You know, back in the days when my mom went to the Chinese doctor, become an apprentice. Thank you, Eddie. Yes, when well, I will tell you my story because this is what I said when I was teaching this in Chinese in our community, is that growing up as Chinese, when I was sick, my mom would bring me to this old Chinese doctor. And usually they're quite old. And then you would give them your hand and they would check your pulse. For anybody who's been to a Chinese doctor, a traditional Chinese medical doctor, maybe give me some comments. So what you do is you go there and then they would check your pulse with the 3 fingers. And then they would know what's going on with you. We actually, in Chinese, we say mong man man qit, mong man man qit. So the Chinese doctor look at you from your face, they will already have an idea of what's going on in your body because all of these are reflex points and you can actually see. I think a lot of you know that already. So by looking, so diagnosis, there are four. Yes, right, Teresa. So there are 4 steps to diagnosis. Mong is the first, is to look at your face, right? Your complexion, the colors, your eyes. I am not a medical doctor and I'm not a Chinese doctor. With experience, I've been with Young Living for 11 years with experience and seeing so many people. I can actually tell from looking at somebody's face what's wrong with them. And I'm probably, my member tell me that I'm 90% correct. And so mong man, and then smell. Actually, you have to smell the person. With experience, you will know mong man. You smell the person. Man is ask questions, is really asking what's wrong, why are you here, your medical history, how do you feel during the day, how do you sleep at night, how's your bowel, and even a naturopath would ask that, right? If you go to a naturopathic doctor, that's what they do, or an Ayurvedic doctor, that's what they do. A naturopath and Ayurvedic doctor has this gigantic long list that you have to fill out, right? And it's very similar. Man is asking all the question, and then Sit is the really taking the pulse. And by taking the pulse, they actually confirm the previous 3 things that they saw, right? What they saw, what they smell, and what they asked. By checking the pulse, it's a confirmation of what is going on in the body. And by checking that pulse, they can actually know like liver, kidney, heart, circulation, and all of it, right? So, and that's traditional Chinese medicine. And growing up as Chinese, that's what we do. That's who we go to when we are sick. Of course, we have Western doctors, but it's like a family kind of mother thing, right? They bring you to the Chinese doctor, and then they give you this horrible herbal concussion that you have to boil for like 30 minutes, and then you have to drink it, strain it and drink it. So, and herbalists are similar. Herbalists use like dry herbs and tinctures and stuff like that. And I never asked my Chinese doctor if he was licensed. I trust that he was, because if he was bad, nobody would go, because it's all from word of mouth, right? Because back then there was no advertisement. Everybody just say, oh, you know, the old doctor down there is really good with cough. You can just go to him. And if he works, I would tell my friends when my friends are coughing. So that's how life worked back in the days, right? 50 years ago. I'm 50. So 40, 50 years ago, that's how life worked. And probably that's how life, I don't know, in the US, before everybody had Western medication, you all use herbs too, right? Otherwise, if herbs did not work, humans would be extinct, because Western medication is only about, what, 150, 200 years old? So, and that's how this Dr. Joseph Cadence came about. He knew a lot about herbs. He even wrote books about it. And, you know, back then, if your information isn't correct, you cannot publish a book. It's not like nowadays anybody can write. Anybody who has a computer, who knows how to type ABCD, can type out a book and get it published, right? Nobody's going to check. But back then, publishers actually check your work. They need to make sure that everything is right before they will publish it. So he actually published 6 books. And Gary studied with him during 1982 to 1985. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more background. And this was where the Bernardine University came about. I'm sure if you look up online, there are going to be people saying that the Bernardine University is a quack thing. There's like, it doesn't exist, blah, 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 and all of that. I did my research, and I do investigate very, very deeply. I actually wrote out a timeline and made sure that the timeline was right. And then I made this presentation. So 1954, Dr. Joseph Cadence founded the school, and it's called University of Universology, something probably he made up. So that was 1954. How many years ago was that? 70 years ago. And then in 1964, Dr. Joseph Caden's wife, Bernadine, died of cancer. And to remember his late wife, he changed the name to Bernadine University. And this school had a naturopathic course, but at that time, accreditation of colleges was not very important. Herbal medicine was taught in major medical school 100 years ago in the US, including Columbia. Yes, definitely, right? Thank you, Eddie. I love your information. And so, well, there's still more like typo and stuff, so please bear with me. I'll check better next time. So the college had a naturopathic course, but back then accreditation was not very important. So the school never got accredited. It's just like the Chinese doctor that I went to growing up was not licensed because there was no such thing as a Chinese medical doctor license until I think in Hong Kong 20 years ago. Yeah, I think until 20 years ago. And even so, when they were licensing the Chinese doctors in Hong Kong, they were saying that, okay, if you have been practicing for over 20 or 30 years, we'll give you a license. You don't need to take tests. And for those who have been practicing for less than 20 years, they have to take a test. And most of them pass, right? And then that's when they started having this Chinese TCM courses in the universities in Hong Kong. And that's when they realized that they have to start licensing them. Anyway, so Dr. Caden died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 81 in 1993. And in 1996, between the year 1996 to 1997, Dr. Caden's second wife and his widow decided to sell the school. So if you look up any information after 1996 or 97, you would not find the school because they've already sold it. Okay. I actually found the address of the school. But I don't think I need to go into that detail. I found the address, I looked it up, I Google mapped it, and I know where it was. So it's true, okay? And okay, let me talk a little bit about accreditation of naturopathic schools in the US, which only started in 1989. And I even looked into this kind of information. This is how I look information up because I had to verify why were they not accredited? Because there was no accreditation before 1989. So Bastyr University was established in 1978 during a very difficult political climate for natural medicine. This was actually taken from their website, okay? The National College of Naturopathic Medicine has closed the Seattle campus, and Washington state lawmakers are threatening to revoke naturopathic licenses because there was no new graduates. Okay, but and the people who started Bastyr University, there was a whole list of them. If you want to look, you can go into their website. And in 1989, Bastyr University became the first accredited naturopathic school. Even back 10 years ago, when I was looking this information up, I was looking into studying a naturopathic course, and I wanted to get a degree from it. This was the only school. Now, obviously, there are tons of it around, and there's a lot of accredited colleges for naturopathic schools. There's even online courses because of COVID. I mean, back then, online courses was not something, but nowadays, nearly everything is online because of COVID. So does it mean that it's not real? Does it mean that it doesn't work? Does it mean that he doesn't have the qualification, right? It doesn't. And so this is just, and because he studied, okay, these are the dates that were very important because Gary studied with him before 1989. So there was never any accreditation. And if you already have a lot of success in your work, a lot of people won't get accredited, especially back in those days. It wasn't very popular. It wasn't needed. Okay. So feel free to look up the information. And between 1982 to 1985, he opened a little clinic, a wellness center, and start helping patients. And because he was getting better, and obviously from word of mouth, it's just like our traditional Chinese medicine doctors. And you're welcome for anybody from Malaysia, from the Philippines, and Philippines use a lot of herbal medicines too, right? From the Philippines, from Malaysia, from Singapore, feel free to tell me in the comments if you have went to a Chinese doctor, and if you've ever think of having that Chinese doctor needing to get a license, right? And honestly, In Hong Kong, from my experience, I would rather go to a Chinese doctor who have been in the industry, you know, being a Chinese doctor and treating patients for 30 years and 50 years and may not be licensed. Obviously, licensed doctors are now, if you can't be a non-licensed in Hong Kong now, I would rather go to that Chinese doctor who have 40 years of experience and a very good testimonials and word of mouth than going to see the Chinese doctor who just graduated from university and has a license. You know what I mean? Right? So anyway, so that's just my personal choice. I'm not telling you all of it, all of you to do that. And it's obviously when you go to a doctor, you have to go to someone who's licensed. It's just how it used to be back 40 years ago. Anyway, so Gary had this little wellness center, and this photo I took from 3450 Bonita Road. I actually Google mapped to it too, and that's how I Google mapped it. It's right here, and it's right here, right close to the border of San Diego. And he opened a clinic here in Mexico by the beach, and this is the photo of the clinic, and this is the photo of his wellness center here in Bonita, California. And it's a 45-minute drive. I had to verify it because I looked it up, and it needs to make sense, right? For example, if you tell me that he opened a clinic in Seattle and he had to drive down to Mexico every weekend, I would look it up and come on, it's like, I don't know, 10 hours drive. Is it really possible? But it's a 45-minute drive. So yes, it is possible. So this is where he had his clinic, and this is where he has his wellness center, and this is where he has his clinic in Mexico. Okay, so he was going back and forth between Mexico and US. I don't know if you've watched the movie Dallas Buyers Club. Anybody who's watched it, can you give me some likes and some heart and let me know in the comments that you've watched the movie Dallas Buyers Club. If you have not, I encourage you to watch it this weekend. I don't know, find a version of it. It's a really old movie. You can probably YouTube it. I don't know. So he moved to Southern California and also opened a clinic in a city close to the Mexican-American border. And he used the Buyers Club method. So it's sort of like a program. Go watch the movie. You know what I'm talking about. And he told me himself he used Buyers Club method to help many patients who were very, very sick. Really very similar to Dallas Buyers Club movie. So I don't want to tell more, but you can go watch the movie and you'll know. And this was a photo of that clinic in Mexico. Isn't it nice that he has photos of everything? He documented everything. When he passed away, Mary is still 4 years later, still tidying up the things that he's left behind, all the notes, all the photos and everything. Okay, so, and he also learned dry blood analysis. I don't know if you're familiar with dry blood analysis. I have done it myself when I was in Ecuador, and our dear beloved Crystal Parrott, she learned dry blood analysis from Gary Young himself. So she's amazing. And with dry blood analysis, just 1 or 2 drops of blood observed under a dark field microscope, and you can already see a lot. You can tell a lot of the person's health from that. And this was his microscope. This was him at his microscope. This was his little lab that he used to study. And the reason why this was so helpful for him, he can use this method to test how efficient and effective his herbs were. Because once somebody's taken the herbs, like, I don't know about you, but I have a Chinese doctor that can stop a cough within half an hour with his Chinese herbs. And even with massage, like Chinese massage with acupuncture pressure points massage and pressure points pressing and herbs, you can do a lot, right? And with a microscope and learning how to do live blood and dry blood analysis, he can tell how effective and efficient his herbs were working, right? Because you take the blood and you can see it right away. So depending on the experience and the expertise of the lab analysis, it can detect different lifestyle and eating habits, nutritional status, how your liver, your stomach, your sugar content, your blood sugar content, your metabolic rate, your hormones, and everything. And I remember Gary told me that you can actually prevent sicknesses from a life blood analysis, because a life blood analysis can see things that a regular Western doctor blood analysis 2 years before. I don't know how to say this in English. You can prevent, you can see what is going on in the body and prevent it. How do you say it in English? 2 years ahead. How do you say, I don't know how to say this. I think you understand what I mean, right? So whatever you can only pick up in a Western medical doctor tests, now you could have seen it 2 years ago with a life blood analysis. You get it, right? So it's really good for preventative. But obviously there are a lot of people who do life blood analysis, but depending on the experience the person has, and it's very subjective. Personally, my experience with Crystal was that she could tell. When I went to Ecuador the second time, I didn't have a lot of health issues with me already, because I was already using a ton of supplements from Young Living and using a ton of oils. So, but somebody who went with us had injuries, because she used to, and I didn't know that, she used to dance and she had injury. And I remember Crystal seeing her dry blood analysis and say, "Oh, you've got pain on your left pelvic. Did you have an injury on your knee also?" And she goes, "Yeah, back when I was like, I don't know, 20, like 10 years ago, I had this injury." And Crystal could actually tell from the life blood analysis that she had an injury and she's in constant pain. Where? And it was crazy. And we used to joke. That Gary could see. This is what I heard. Gary was so good with his life and dry blood analysis that he could tell when you lost your virginity. I don't know how true that is. I think it's a joke, but he was really, really good. And with Crystal, actually learned it all from Gary. And from what Crystal could see, obviously the obvious thing is you can see if there's bacteria, viruses, heavy metals, candida. Those are like really easy things to look at, to see how your circulation is, whether you have enough vitamins or minerals. And then how your hormones are. So that's what he basically did a lot of his tests on, and know how effective and efficient his herbal concoctions were. Okay. Okay. And so this is actually a little screen cap of a little results of somebody of the life blood analysis results. So if you see these these are red blood cells, and you see how they're all stuck together, it means that they do not have enough oxygen. So that's why they're trying to get oxygen from each other. So that's why they stick together. So anybody who drinks a lot of soda, who drinks a lot of Coke or other sodas, eat a lot of sweets and candies, processed food, they smoke, they don't have enough sleep, their blood would look like this. And this is actually a sample of the blood of somebody drinking Ningxia Red. After 15 minutes, they have the blood tested again, and this is what it looks like. And this shows that the blood has enough oxygen. That's why they have separated, and they're more round and bubbly, and they will move if the circulation is well. They move faster. If with this, they're very heavy and they're very sluggish and they don't move quite well. If the circulation is well, it moves very fast. So I've seen it in person, and I've done it also, something like this. I did it with Valor, and I had the same results. Before Valor and after, I had a very similar result. So what life blood analysis does is through a dark field microscope, you can magnify 30,000 times, and living samples are examined in details. When the body lacks vitamins and minerals, the immune system is not normal, and organ function will be weakened. Or if there are heavy metal poisoning and various types of inflammation, it can be seen. I actually copied and pasted this out from a life blood analysis website. And also you can see parasites, fungi, bacteria. It will also be very visible. With regular blood tests with the Western doctors, they have to put different dyes. And when you're doing a regular blood test, they have to know what to test for, right? And if they don't know what they're looking for, they can't find it. But with the life blood analysis, it actually shows you what there is. You don't have to especially look for it. Does that make sense? So it's much easier to monitor the effects of the different treatments and the body's response. And so you cannot really compare it to the lab tests that Western medical doctors do, because this serves as a preventative health analysis. Okay, everybody's still with me, right? You're not falling asleep. And then he also learned iridology from I forgot his name, from Dr. Jensen. Yes, Dr. Jensen, Dr. Jensen actually. And iridology, and interestingly, iridology is the looking through the eye. And through the eye is reflected inside the back of the eye. Every organ and tissue in the body reflects whether there's a chronic toxin accumulation in the body through countless nerve fiber through the optic nerve on the iris. As long as you can check the texture, color, spots, rings, cracks, and other changes in the iris, you can determine the health of that part of the body. It's sort of like the face reflex points, but it's actually an eye reflex point. And because of oh my goodness, this was translated from Chinese. Anyway, I will show you this. Actually, if you look up iridology, you can find this very easily. So everywhere of the eye, under the eye, but obviously this is quite invasive because you have to look through the person's eye. So eventually he mostly used light analysis. And he also learned like herbs. So I was telling everybody that he learned about herbs, he learned about iridology, he learned life analysis, and he learned about anatomy and how the body, each department, each part of the body is interrelated. And if you're into naturopathic medicine, you know that our body don't just work on its own, right? Our body is like a machine. The stomach and works with the gut, the stomach works with the intestine, works with the large intestine, and the colon works with removing garbage, and the liver works with the colon. The liver also works with the blood, and the liver works with the hormones, and the liver is an elimination system, and our skin is part of that elimination system. So our skin is connected with our liver, and is also connected with our hormones, because when we've got a hormone imbalance, we get pimples, right? Oh, yeah, right. Is that right? Your optometrist can tell if you're susceptible to a heart attack. Exactly, right? So this is how our body works. It's all interconnected. And so we can't just look at it at one place. And if you've got a stomach issue, you can't just look at the stomach. You probably have to, I like to look at, if you have a stomach issue, I like to look at nerves. And the video is interrupted every few seconds. Is it? I don't know. I've got pretty stable connection here because I live right next to like Cyberport, which is like the cyber hub of Hong Kong. Maybe, I don't know. I hope that it'll be okay when you're doing a rewatch. So our body is, I was saying that the stomach, if somebody has a stomach issue, you know what I look at? I look at stress and self-esteem. That's what I would look at. And if somebody has skin problem, has a face rash issue, what I would look at is emotions, really. So our body is really all interconnected, and we can't just look at one place. And it's really pretty amazing how Gary has learned so much. And you can actually tell that he was so eager for knowledge because he wanted to help himself first, right? So for now, that's all what he has been learning and what he knew. So people who tell you that, oh, he doesn't have a license, blah, 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 you don't have to worry about that. I think our products tell a lot about how well he was as somebody who knew about health, right? So this is all for today. And the next episode, we're going to talk about how and when he started with essential oils, right? This was his life before essential oils. And the next episode, we're going to be talking about essential oils and how he started. And I would love for you all, if you would, to write a social media post about what you've learned today, and then hashtag 101 reasons for YL. And you can do it on Facebook, you can put it on Instagram, you can put it on TikTok, you can do a TikTok story on it, share it with your team, okay? Tell your team about it and add them in. I have put all of the diamonds and above moderator and admin so that they can approve you and they can add people in. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, I'm now opening the floor to questions. If you have questions, you can put it in the comments, and then I can try to answer, because it's already 9:30 over there, is it? So the first class is a little bit shorter. Sometimes it goes longer. Sometimes it's 2 hours. I've been told that I have talked for 3 hours. I can't remember, but usually it's about an hour and a half. Today is a little bit short because we're just doing the introduction on the life that Gary had before he had essential oils, right? After he had essential oils, totally changed, transformed his life. And that's why we have what we have today. And that's the longer journey. And we're going to start that next week. So feel free to share this with your team. Feel free to add your team members into it. And please do put a post and hashtag it. Hashtag 101 reasons for YL. And then also hashtag because of Gary. Okay, so 2 hashtags, hashtag 101 reasons for YL and hashtag because of Gary. And then I will see you next week. And if any questions, you can post it in the comments. I'll read it. And thank you, Gretchen, for putting the hashtag into the comments. And I'll probably make a post and put that hashtag in the post so everybody can see it. And think about what kind of questions you want to ask next week. And I'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great evening. And do remember Gary, and maybe make a post about Gary tomorrow, your time, because it's the 4th anniversary of his passing. And maybe also share how Young Living has helped your life with that post, so that we can tell everybody and more people about Gary Young and what he has done to the world. Okay, well, good night for now. I'll see you next week. Bye. I don't even know how to stop this live. Okay, stop and